Well, this is Dr. Stan here at Radio Liberty, coming to you from the hills overlooking beautiful and picturesque Monterey Bay, and bringing you the news, the story behind the story. Hoping to convince you that reality is usually scoffed at, that illusion is usually king. But in the battle for the survival of Western and Christian civilization, it's going to be reality and not suddenly illusion or delusion that's going to determine what the future will bring. And once again, we seem to be having problems getting through to our next guest, Terry Cook. Basically, if our producer wants to know where the little computer is that has the telephone numbers, well, it's sitting down next to my seat there where I do my work. It's downstairs. There is a computer there, but suddenly, if right now we're going to be talking a little bit about, of course, the whole idea. Terry's suddenly talking about the very real problems that we face as far as the preparation for a major cataclysmic event. The average American is not prepared for a major cataclysmic event. The average American certainly believes that everything's going to be fine. We live in a wonderful world, and we do live in a wonderful world. And they believe, of course, that God has favored America. Well, God has favored America in the past until America became a post-Christian nation. But we are no longer a Christian nation, and when a nation turns against God, as we have, why, of course, God brings judgment on that nation. And all you need to do is see our attitude towards homosexuality and lesbianism. And if people want to be homosexuals and lesbians, they have a right to, but they don't have a right to tell me that I don't have a right to say it's wrong, because I care about homosexuals, and I've known many of them through the years, and suddenly most of them know what they're doing is wrong. They feel terrible about it, but they have a compulsory sexual addiction. But the homosexual male dies probably 15 to 20 years younger than his counterpart. Certainly 1 in every 3 lesbians will get breast cancer, whereas of course the incidence of breast cancer is 1 in 8 women. But the average individual homosexual is not allowed to hear this, because the major force behind homosexuality is not. The major force behind homosexuality is not the homosexuals. The major force behind the homosexual movement in America is the satanic movement that I'm talking about, that we describe over and over again. And until you understand that, until you understand that there are supernatural forces involving some of the richest and most powerful men in America today, very little of what's going on really tends to make sense. So we do hope that many of you out there will want to get our material. And of course, if you haven't read my book, Brotherhood of Darkness, you need it. So you need to get the various programs that we put on, going into the background with a supernatural force out there and naming who these people are. If you want to know who controls the media, the book is The New Media Monopoly. And you get into the background of these major corporations, whether it be Bertelsmann, whether it be Viacom, whether it be Disney, whether it would be AOL Time Warner, Comcast, or Murdoch. And they all tie into the Brotherhood. They tie into the Council on Foreign Relations. They tie into the Trilateral Commission. They tie into the Bilderbergers and all of these other organizations. And of course, what they've done is they've created a series of organizations. They all suddenly interlock, they all work together. Well, it looks like we're getting Terry Cook on the line, so hopefully we'll have Terry with us in just a moment, going into the background certainly of what's happening and the fact that there really are very real problems. We could have a major crisis at any time in America. I don't know when it's coming, but Terry's looked into this. Hi, Terry. How are we doing?
Well, Dr. Stan, you sound great. I'm somewhat decent myself. Thank you for inviting me on the program tonight, and we're going to have a good show.
Okay, fine. You just go ahead and just sort of introduce it briefly, and then we have to take a break. But at least let's talk about what this major subject is.
Tonight we're going to hopefully get our listeners prepared for a probable total stock market crash toward the end of this year, Stan. And many Wall Street people, including the Federal Reserve and Warren Buffett, are saying so. And so I think our people need to get ready. Now, this is not a prophetic utterance, because only God knows for sure. And
hold that thought. We'll be back in a moment.
Don't be late.
No.
White with gold. God bless America. My home. Sweet.
Right, Pop? Right, son.
This is Dr. Stan, and certainly our guest this evening is Terry Cook. And of course, those of you who are listening to our first hour will recall that I opened talking about Porter Stansberry, who is an economist or a financial advisor, coming out forward and saying we're going to have a major crisis this year, and it's going to start certainly on the 1st of July. And now Terry is picking this up and commenting that certainly even Warren Buffett has said that we're in for some very real problems. Terry, you pick up the story about your view on the coming financial crisis.
Porter Stansberry is a very, very fine, credible source of such financial information. I've been following him for years, Dr. Stan, and he's a economic scientist and of the highest order. So he and another fine gentleman, Peter Schiff, Gerald Celente, and on and on and on, are pretty much in agreement in this regard that it's the calm before the storm and the bubble is about to burst. So I call it the BB syndrome. Bubble is about to burst. And one recent article just a few days ago indicates that as well. And this article comes, Dr. Stan, from www.livetradingnews.com on Wall Street. And the title of the article, which I believe I sent you about a week ago, Dr. Stan.
Yes, I got it, but please go ahead because I think it's very important.
Yes, it says Wall Street's risk of a crash is 98% this year. Now, you see, we're not just a handful of religious nuts, right-wing extremists that the communists and the socialists label Christians, conservatives, old mainstream America, because they want to discredit us from sharing the truth with anybody. That's what we're called, and it is that kind of a process. They want to discredit anybody who knows the truth from sharing that in a credible way with people in order to get them prepared. So what we're doing tonight is we're sharing not only that, but common sense. And then we're also going to share at the end of the hour, Dr. Stan, we're going to share some spiritual insight into why October is so important to the Satanists who are running the world. Now, they call themselves Luciferians, and as you've revealed in your very fine book, The Brotherhood of Darkness, that's what they are. Satan is dark, and his brotherhood follow him into hell. Now, hell's going to be kind of hot and maybe a little bit fiery, so it won't be that dark down there in terms of light, but it will be dark spiritually for eternity when everybody who follows him, according to Scripture, burns for eternity without quenching of the fire day or night for eternity, and there'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth. That's what's coming, folks, and if you want to laugh at that, go ahead. If you're not Christian and you're listening to this program, I suggest you open the book of Revelation because it's about to begin, and you start studying that. And our wealth isn't going to matter in just a few more months, Dr. Stan, because this plan, this satanic plan to create a crash and wipe out the old world economic order has been on the books for decades, perhaps hundreds of years. But I've been reading and studying this ever since you and I first met in the early 90s, Dr. Stan, and I have an actual publication from the Illuminati called The New World Economic Order. So it's been planned for years. The timing is, guessable. We're all guessing as to when it may happen. But we can get a little spiritual insight about the month of October and why so many dastardly deeds have happened in that month, including the 1929 stock market crash, the 1987 stock market crash, October of 2008. It all started around September, but it really hit the dirt in October of 2008. And then we were all blackmailed into giving the Illuminati billions and billions and billions of additional money, which has helped nothing. All it's done is destroy this country and further destabilize us in all regards, economically, politically, militarily, and every other respect. And in between the last 7 years of Mr. Obama signing 1,000 executive orders, destroying the Constitution, destroying this country, and in between his golf games that usually cost us millions of dollars each, in between those events, Mr. Obama signs more executive orders that the Illuminati puts on his desk so that every time he returns from a golf game, he can just sign those and then return to his next golf game, his next future golf game. So that man in the White House is just a puppet, a very articulate puppet who knows how to read teleprompters very well. The script has been written, and we're about to get it. Now, we call these things that are about to happen trigger events. Dr. Tom Horn and me and I call these trigger events that will lead to the world needing a dictatorship under the soon-coming Antichrist. And so you see, the world has to be made desperate, or it won't need a false Messiah, the Antichrist, who will present himself as a fix for the world. You see? And that's what's coming. So right now we're going to finish reading the article before the break comes up, Dr. Stan. And
okay, you go right ahead. You've got plenty of time.
Okay, and then we're going to discuss a few other things. Briefly, we'll discuss my very small book, my 28-page book called Revolution, Communism is Satanism in Disguise, because on the back cover I said there's a planned, I wrote this 2 years ago, there's a planned economic crash coming that will allow Mr. Obama to give us communist martial law and a dictatorship and totally trash the Constitution. It's already been trashed, politically speaking, via executive orders. Most of us just don't know that yet. Basically, the entire Bill of Rights is history under NDAA 2012, NDAA 2014, and so on. Most of us think we have a Constitution that's somewhat still in place, but it's not. During Mr. Obama's first 4 years, it was on life support. Now they pulled the plug. There is no more respiration. Right now there's perspiration instead of respiration. Gee, that was good. I should coin that phrase, Dr. Steph. There's perspiration. We're all sweating it because those of us who are knowledgeable know they're about to pull the plug on this thing called America. And yes, at one time, God did bless America, as your theme song indicated, but no more. No more. America is one of the most apostate, formerly Christian nations. It's basically a pagan nation now in the world. But still, it has to be completely destroyed in order for the world to go totally into a satanic communist new world order.
Okay, fine. Now, what were you going to read for us to give us the background?
So this article I mentioned, I alluded to, and I sent to you, the doctor, is from www.livetradingnews.com. And it says Wall Street's risk of a crash is 98% this year. Now, let's get more specific, and this article does so in the first paragraph, because it says, early this year, a select group of Wall Street professionals were surveyed, and the results were ominous. That's the word they use here. I'm quoting. So it says, early This year, a select group of Wall Street professionals were surveyed, and the results were ominous. Second sentence of that first paragraph says, these financial experts and fund managers predicted a 98% chance of a stock market crash that will happen in the next 6 months. Now, folks, in the next 6 months, this article is dated June 5. So, raise your right hand. How many fingers do you have on your right hand? You got 5. So let's count. 6 months from June is around October, November. Okay? Now hold that thought, because we're going to explain why October is so important to the Illuminati, the Brotherhood of Darkness, because they have their own satanic holidays, and they hold to them pretty rigidly. When something really evil happens, well, you can bet your sweet bippy it's been planned to happen to celebrate Satan's holiday. So I'll get to that toward the end of the program, but let's continue with this article a little bit. Second paragraph says, Gary Schilling, a top Wall Street economist, says the S&P index could very well drop as low as 800, which would be a 42% deep dive. Third paragraph says Jeffrey Gundlach, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, Gundlach it looks like, one of the world's biggest bond fund managers and CEO of Double Line Capital, says the real damage is yet to come, and an ominous, there's that word again, and an ominous third phase will far exceed the damage of 2008. Fourth paragraph says that Peter Schiff, he's the Euro-Pacific Capital CEO, author of The Real Crash, America's Coming Bankruptcy, warns as follows, quote, I am 100% confident the crisis that we're going to have will be much worse than the one we had in 2008. Fifth paragraph says, even Warren Buffett is rumored to be preparing for a stock market crash. The Warren Buffett indicator, known as the total market cap GDP ratio, is breathing a sell alert status and a collapse that may happen at any moment. So Warren Buffett, a member of the Satanic Committee of 300, the Illuminati, and George Soros and the Federal Reserve today in an article, they're pretty much all saying the same thing, so they're all in agreement that Satan is about to collapse the international economic system, and Russia's pulling all of its money from America.
Hold that thought. If you're out there, give us a call, 1-888-24-LIBERTY, 1-888-24-LIBERTY, or 464-8295. Our guest, Terry Cook. Give us a call if you have a question or comment. We'll be back in just a moment, 1-888-24-LIBERTY.
night, son.
Kind of makes you think of Blake, doesn't it? Makes you think of a lot of things. We're going to be in this yet, Mom.
Hi, Mom.
Hello, darling.
New song?
Brand new, first time on the air. Brand new, my eye. You know, I threw that song out of Yip Yip Yap Hank 22 years ago. Sounds better now.
Well, this is Dr. Stan. Our guest is Terry Cook, and he is, of course, reading from an article. What is the article website? You saw this article on talking about how the coming economic collapse, coming economic crisis, probably this year, 98% certain, a major catastrophe. Where can people read that article, Terry?
Okay, they can Google www.livetradingnews.com.
That's one more time, livetradingnews.com, www.livetradingnews.com, is that right?
Yes, and the title of the article is Wall Street's Risk of Crash is 98% this year.
Okay, fine, you go right ahead.
Okay, so we're done with that article. We could spend a lot of time on it.
Is there anything else in that article that's important?
Well, no, we've covered the major points.
Okay, fine.
It's a very good article, but we've covered the major points. And now let's move on to another article that says from www.marketwatch.com, www.marketwatch.com, which is in California, as I recall. It's in Northern California near you, Stan. This article is by Mr. Fortrell, June 4. And he says that half of Americans can no longer afford their homes, and they're struggling to hang on to them by sacrificing other things. So he says over half of Americans, 52%, have had to make at least one major sacrifice in order to cover their rent or mortgage over the last 3 years. And the article goes on for quite some time, but they've been taking second jobs. They've been deferring doing other things, cutting back on virtually everything, eating less food and whatever, just to try to hang on to their homes. So that's 52% of Americans are on the edge of losing their homes. All it's going to take is one burp in the economy, and what we have coming is going to be worse than a burp. It's going to be a complete upchuck. Okay? So things are getting bad everywhere, and in particular in the large metropolitan areas, things are getting bad. So that's enough of that article. It's just, you could go on and on and on. Now, who else says a stock market crash is coming? Well, isn't it interesting? Mr. Steve Forbes, Forbes magazine. Who is Steve? A member of the Committee of 300. He and Warren Buffett are good pals. They're in this exclusive Bilderberger group together. And he, too, says, it was on the headlines of Forbes magazine, his magazine. Steve Forbes says, Forbes predicts a stock market crash worse than the 1930s. Well, most people listening to this program, Stan, and you and I, fortunately didn't have to live through the 30s, but our parents did, our grandparents certainly did, and that was horrible enough, and those people back then didn't realize that crash was planned to happen. And thereafter, when Roosevelt came to power, he outlawed gold. He made it a felony to possess gold thereafter. He confiscated it from everybody for a minimal amount of money. And then after that, the gold prices, after the gold had been confiscated from the public, and it was made a felony, a federal felony to possess gold. 10 years in prison to possess gold after Mr. Roosevelt, good old FDR, did that to us, a socialist communist, and a 33rd degree Mason, and at that time was planted in the White House to do his thing for the Illuminati. Okay, so the bottom line is all of these crashes throughout American history have been planned to edge us even more closely to the planned culmination of all such economic crashes. This one that's coming, Dr. Stan, will usher out the old world economic order, will burn it to the ground. And then a new world economic order will be installed, and the preparations have already been made. We could spend another hour on that alone. New currency's been printed up already. It's in vaults everywhere around the world. These countries that are going to pick up that slack are called the BRIC nations, and of course they're all under the control of Rothschild, Rockefeller, and so forth internationally, and all of the central banks in the world, including Russia's central bank, Red China's central bank, Middle East central banks, they're all owned and or controlled directly or indirectly by Rothschild, Rockefeller, and the top 13 of the Illuminati.
Well, but basically, what is the title of your book that you wrote with Tom Horn that gets into so much of the background of this? What's the title?
It's called Beast Technology. Beast Tech, and I think you still have a few copies left.
Yes, we still do. Beast Tech. We think it's an important book. You can get that from us by calling 1-800-544-9272. I have copies still.
You still have copies, I believe. And,
yes, we do.
And if you run out, then just call Tom for more. They can also get my other books online at Amazon.com. Go to the book section and put in Terry L. Cook. I have about 15 other books
available. Hold that thought. We'll be back in a moment.
Right, son.
God bless America.
this is Dr. Stan back here. Our guest is Terry Cook, and we're talking about the coming economic crash. Sydney, if you have a question or comment for our guest, our telephone number is 1-888-24-LIBERTY, 1-888-24-LIBERTY, or here in the Central Coast of California at 464-8295. But Terry, Sydney, believes that there's going to be an economic crash, and I think it's coming very soon. Anyway, Terry, you pick up the story.
Yes, and these, Dr. Stan, these aren't prophetic utterances, okay? I'm not a prophet, nor do I profit much from this, I guarantee you. So, but we are spiritual weathermen, as it were. And why do we hire secular weathermen? Well, we want to know when a bad storm is coming, don't we? So we spend millions of dollars through the federal government and various other weather reporting establishments, studying meteorology, so we can advise our people when a storm may be coming and approximately when it may be coming and where it may hit. And that's all we're doing today. But we have spiritual insight the secular weather people don't have, as it were, into all these other events that contribute to an unparalleled storm that's just over the horizon. So another very good article written by a very solid source of information, Mr. Dave Hodges, in his Common Sense show, dated June 3, 2014. You see, all these articles are recent articles written by very credible sources, and I'm basically just a reporter. And I'm telling you, it appears as if an economic and military and political storm of unparalleled magnitude may be coming this October. Now, if it doesn't come this October, don't call me a false prophet. I'm not prophesying it, okay? I'm forecasting it for your benefit. I already know. I've been studying this for 25 years, and I already know that probably when the Illuminati does this thing, they'll do it during October because of the satanic spiritual significance of satanic holidays, the most evil being Halloween. And we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But right now, let's get on to this article, which is corroboration regarding the last couple of articles. And we're talking 3 or 4 articles here, folks, but it's all over the Internet. And disregard all of the brain-dead idiots who find themselves in a state of euphoria, much like the Roaring 20s, just before the 29 crash, but this time it's entirely different. There is a spirit of deception over America that I can't even believe anymore. I call it virtual insanity. And the pathological idiots are in control of our government. The psychopaths are running the world, and they're satanic psychopaths. They're satanically possessed, and they're crazy. So we have a bunch of crazy people running the world that are actually under the guidance of Satan, and they own everything. They own everything. All the central banks of the world are owned and or controlled by Rothschilds and his minions under him. Okay? Millions of minions. So let's get on to this article by Dave Hodges, dated Tuesday, June 3, from his Common Sense radio show. He says this. The title of it is, "The World is Just 9 Meals Away from Widespread Revolution." Now, grasp hold of that concept. We usually eat 3 meals a day, don't we, in America? Even if they're not too good. We still eat roughly 3 meals a day. That's been our MO for a long time here in the United States. And he says, basically, the world is 9 meals a day. That means about 3 days away from a revolution. Is he right? Yeah. I've been following Dave for a while. We've done radio and we haven't done any television. We've done a lot of radio shows together over the years. Dave's a very fine guy. He's a college professor, has several degrees, and I helped teach him about the Communist Plan, and he's written very, very fine articles about such things over the last few months. So his article goes on to say this: the world is 9 meals away, in other words, 3 days away from a revolution. And he says most Americans do not have 30 days, even 30 days of food in their home pantry. Not even 30 days, folks. In fact, he says, most people do not have even 3 days, which is 9 meals that he's referring to here. So he says, quote, we are indeed 9 meals removed from a total revolution. When people get hungry, they do weird things. A starving man is not a cooperative citizen. Then he quotes Mr. Henry Kissinger from the 70s. And I quote Mr. Kissinger in this same way in several of my books that you can get at Amazon.com. Click on the books department, put in my author name, Terry L. Cook, and I've written about 15 books over the last 20 years. One of which, Beast Tech, you can get it from Dr. Stan directly. He still has many copies. But the other books that have been around for 20 years and later, you can get directly from Amazon.com, Books Department, Terry L. Cook. Get my book called Revolution. That's all you got to know. It's 28 pages. That's a book I've written almost 2 years ago that explains exactly what's about to happen, and I think I'm pretty close and dead on, unfortunately. I wish I were wrong. I don't want to be right. It's going to affect me just as badly. It's going to affect everybody. So he goes on to say here that the world is 9 meals away, in other words, 3 meals away from a total revolution and chaos. And the first sentence of this article says the World Bank, which is Rockefeller, hello? The World Bank is boldly proclaiming that extreme food shortages and subsequent food riots will take place in the near future, largely due to the rapid increase in food prices. Now, Dr. Stan, if we listen to the Abomination administration, they say there is no inflation. And Social Security recipients, one of whom is me now, just got a very nominal 1% or so increase because there is no inflation, Dr. Stan. Have you noticed that? There is no inflation.
Well, of course, we know that they're lying. The inflation rate is probably somewhere 6 to 8% at least. Go ahead.
Well, actually, the food inflation in the past few months, Dr. Stan, has been 22%. Google that. Food inflation, 22%. Okay? If you haven't noticed that at your market, folks, then you must be a millionaire and you're not counting your dimes like me. So, bottom line is, we're being lied to. Anybody who believes anything coming out of Washington is naive and asleep. That's all I can say. That's the nice way for me to say you're dumb. If you believe any of the lies and the garbage coming out of the communist Washington, D.C. Sewer pipe, then you need to go get some counseling. They're lying to us. Everything is a lie. But we want to hear the lie, don't we? So we believe it in general terms. Now, he goes on to say in this very fine and lengthy article that food prices are being artificially manipulated up for political control. It's not just a historical precedent, but food has always been used by the Marxists for weapons against the people. And he spends a lot of time talking about what Stalin did, including shoot all their farmers to create food shortages. But the communists in charge never went hungry. They just got rid of all the people under them and starved them into submission, you see. So food is a weapon in that regard. And the government has already signed executive orders, including Obama, that they've taken full control legally over everything you own. So even if you do have more than a 3-day supply of food in your pantry, you don't know that Obama's already signed an executive order that he owns everything you have, including your water supply. Okay, now I started to quote Henry Kissinger from the 70s, so let's get back to that. In the 70s, Dr. Henry Kissinger, and by the way, he's a member of the Committee of 300. He's a direct lieutenant for Rockefeller, who's in the top Council of 13 of the Illuminati. And Mr. Kissinger said in the 70s, quote, if you control oil, you control nations. But if you control food, you control the people of those nations. You see? So it's been in their plan under Codex Alimentarius and various other plans. Codex Alimentarius has been around for decades. Most people have never heard about it. I've written a separate book by that title. Codex Alimentarius is a plan which the Nazis helped develop to control food, the quality of food, essentially GMO products and destabilizing what God gave us, good food supply that's nutritious and everything, and also controlling it through purchasing all the major farm production corporations and acquiring all the small people by putting them out of business, and then and so on and so on. We spent a lot of time on that. So let me get down to a few more comments Dave has made here in this article. The government's historical overview of food control can be well established. All you have to do is get online and study the hundreds of thousands of articles that are there. Okay? But with a stroke of the pen, Obama recently took total and absolute control over all our food. Now, he's preparing for the planned collapse that he well knows is coming. And this is why this man is on a spending spree unlike any other time in America's history. He's just blowing money everywhere. And it's a strategy that the communists have put together by, we spent a lot of time on that, it's a controlled collapse. And that's hard to believe. That phrase is hard to believe, but it's a controlled collapse, a planned collapse. And so Obama recently, under Executive Order 13603, states this: food resources means all commodities and products, simple, mixed, or compound, or complements to such commodities or products that are capable of being ingested by either human beings or animals, irrespective of other uses to which such commodities or products may be put. At all stages of processing, from the raw commodity to the products thereof, in vendable form for human and or animal consumption. Food resources also is defined as the means of potable water that's packaged in commercially marketable containers. All starches, all sugars, all vegetable and animal or marine fats and oils, seeds, cotton, hemp, flax, fiber, but does not mean any such material after it loses its identity as an agricultural commodity or agricultural product. Now, I'm reading directly from his executive order, whereby they've taken legal, totally legal control over your food by executive order.
And basically, of course, all of this is unconstitutional, but Obama doesn't really go by the Constitution. Obama certainly is a hardline Marxist who's been put in power by the Brotherhood. Go right ahead.
Yes, and now the next paragraph of this executive order, which he recently signed, says food resource facilities means plants, machinery, vehicles, including on the farm and off the farm, and other facilities required for the production, processing, distribution, and storage, including cold storage, of all food resources, and for the domestic distribution of farm equipment and fertilizer, and it goes on and on and on. So basically, folks, Obama is a puppet for the New World Order crowd. And they, via his executive order and about 1,000 others over the last 7 years, have taken full control over everything, all the fuel, all the vehicles. When the collapse happens, you own nothing, because without the Constitution, you don't have the right to own anything, do you? The Constitution is essentially dead. You just don't know that yet. And this is why they need a planned collapse, so they can make it final. They'll finalize the complete confiscation of everything you have, all your banking resources, all the money in your banks. They're already doing it in Europe. They're confiscating savings accounts and everything else, and soon they'll control you by confiscating your food, your cars, your houses. When the collapse happens, the Constitution is totally null and void forever. And without that Constitution, you have no right to ownership of anything. You have no right to the ownership of food, water, fuel, cars, houses, your own money, your own assets. The only reason you're in ownership of those things is the Constitution has provided us the freedom and the legal ability to have ownership of all those things. That is all about to end, and most Americans aren't ready for it, Dr. Stan. And as PhD Dr. Hodges here says in his article, we can't even go 3 days without food. That's planned as well. And when that happens, our entire nation basically turns into a chaotic bunch of animals.
Well, I share your concern. I think we're moving towards a very real crisis, and I don't think the average American really understands it. That's the what do you do if you go to the grocery store and there's no food? Nobody has ever asked that because we never faced that. But, of course, you can imagine what's going on over in Syria today and other countries where we are financing the terrorists who are killing the people who are running the government. Of course, over in Syria, we're financing the terrorists who are killing the Christians, raping the Christian women, suddenly burning the Christian towns. And where's the outcry from the Christians in America? Why, it's deafening in its silence, and I fear God is going to bring judgment on America because of that. Go right ahead, Terry.
Okay, so now we have limited time. I think, what do we have, about 10 minutes left on your show?
No, we've only got about 2 minutes left. Go ahead.
Okay, then let's say this. One of the most important holidays Satan has is Halloween, which is called Satan's Harvest Celebration. Satan has his own harvest celebration, a harvest of souls that he greedily gathers and devours. His followers prepare for Satan's harvest of souls during the entire month of October in various ways, by recruiting people into satanic cults and to witchcraft and Satanism, and by ritual killings of animals to sacrifice them to the devil, and so on and so forth, and by casting curses on everything, which they hope will result in accidents, fires, suicides, domestic violence, sudden illness, death, and so on. Their diabolical activities begin October 1 and build throughout the entire month of October, climaxing on October 31st, the sacrifice and celebration of death. Now, that's all I'm going to say about that. Why have all the stock market crashes happened in October? Why did the communist Bolshevik revolution, creating the first phase of the New World Order, happen in October 1917? Well, now you know why. It's spiritual. It's the devil's month. Get ready for this October. I think it's going to be a trick, not a treat. And if it doesn't happen, praise the Lord. Maybe we have one more year. It's not a question of if it's going to happen, but when. Possibly this October, I think so. Many people agree. Prepare as if that may happen. And if it does, at least you'll be able to eat more than 3 days. If it doesn't happen, praise the Lord. We got maybe another year. God bless you all. I love you.
Okay, fine. Because I guess it's been Terry Cook. Terry, one more time, how can people get to your website?
They can get to my book, Beast Tech, that Dr. Horn and I wrote, by calling you and asking for a copy of Beast Tech. If they want my other books, Dr. Stan, go to Amazon.com's book section.
Okay, hold on.
And the storm clouds gather.
Okay, Terry, you were just saying they can go to the Amazon.com book section. Anything else you'd like to get say?
Put in my name. Once you reach the book section, Terry L. Cook, click on that, and about 15 books will pop up on 2 or 3 pages. God bless you all. Get ready. A hellacious storm is coming, and folks, get ready. I'm telling you, I've never seen anything like this. It's about to hit the fan. God bless you all.
God bless. Thanks very much, Terry. And thanks for being with us.
In a solemn prayer, God bless America, and that I love, stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above, from the mountain to the prairie, to the ocean, white with gold. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above, from the mountain to the prairie, to the ocean.
Bye, Daddy.
Bye, dude. Don't be late.
No?
white with gold. God bless America, my home.
Right, Pop?
Right, son.
God bless America, land that I love. Beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountain to the prairie, to the ocean.
Well, this is Dr. Stan back here, and of course our guest this evening, Terry Cook. His book is Beast Tech. He wrote it along with Tom Horn. It's excellent because it goes into not only what's happening from a geopolitical point of view, but what's happening from a spiritual point of view, and you can't understand what is really taking place in the world today unless you understand there are supernatural forces that are working behind the scenes to bring about a one world government, a one world financial system, and, of course, a one world religion, and everything is being done to destroy Christianity. They've infiltrated our seminaries, they've infiltrated our churches, they've changed the music of our churches, and where is the outspoken criticism of this? They've changed the message of many of our churches, and suddenly many of our ministers are trying to get the information out, but of course they do not understand the geopolitical implications of what's going on today, which is why I do what I do 5 hours a day, and quite frankly I need your help to continue doing what we're doing. And if you're in a position to join the Radio Liberty family of supporters, and you do that by calling us at 1-800-544-8927. 1-800-544-8927, and basically, of course, you can subscribe to our newsletter. You can certainly join the Radio Liberty family and get the newsletter, get the 4 best CDs of the month. And then, of course, we hope many of you will want to get the items we carry. And basically, we always try to put together the best 4 CD sets, which will help you understand what's going on, or the best books. As you know, only recently were we able to verify the fact that Adolf Hitler did not die in the bunker. How were we able to verify this? Well, we've talked to at least 3 people. Certainly, our good friend Jerome Corsi, who will be with us later this week, and he actually went to South America and talked to some of the people who knew Adolf Hitler, who worked with Adolf Hitler, and then, of course, same thing with Gerard Williams, and then, of course, same thing with Harry Cooper. They were all contacted people in South America. This is not imaginary. It is the greatest charade of all time to convince you and most Americans that Adolf Hitler had perished in a bunker in Berlin, and it's just simply not true. Why? Because very simply, he was simply a play actor in this whole thing. The Second World War was as phony as a $3 bill. We financed 100 American corporations, built the weapons for the Nazis. They suddenly financed the Nazis. American oil companies provided the oil. And then, of course, when the war ended, why, of course, we helped the American intelligence and Vatican and British intelligence help the Nazis escape to South America and throughout the rest of the world. This is all covered in a wonderful book. Well, we have 2 of them. One is called The Secret War Against the Jews. It's a preliminary book by John Loftus, and then the definitive book, America's Nazi Secret. America's Nazi Secret. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we actually helped the Nazis during and after the war, and we helped them to escape. Exactly as we are financing and doing the same thing with the Islamic terrorist movement. Who do you think is financing Islamic terrorism? Oh, it's the Saudi Arabians. Ladies and gentlemen, the Saudis wouldn't do anything without us telling them what to do. Understand that everything is an illusion and delusion, and the average individual doesn't understand that we live in an artificial make-believe world. If you want the truth, you need to go to my website, radioliberty.com, where you can watch our DVDs, listen to our newsletter, listen to our radio programs, and certainly read our newsletters. Again, that's radioliberty.com. Our telephone number, 1-800-544-8927. 1-800-544-8927. If you're in a position to join the Radio Liberty, we need your financial support. And if not, we ask you to pray for Radio Liberty, to pray for our provision and our protection, because we're involved in a spiritual battle for the souls of men and the survival of Christian civilization.